Hello, my name is Shawnda, daugherty, and I'm here to talk to you about a story that I read, case number 5, in ADHD, also known as Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder, and how it affects people, kids, with adults not knowing the definition or the diagnosis or what signs to look for in diagnosing ADHD. The story is about Gabe Silva, a little bright, vibrant, active little boy who was transferred to a new school during his second grade year, Miss Susan's class. Miss Susan, who liked to keep a quiet, orderly, controlled classroom, since she learned from her first year of teaching how bad it can get if you're not organized. So she was reluctant on taking Gabe into her new class. She realized that all the other second grade classes had about the same amount of kids, so she really knew she didn't have a choice. So she took this brown-haired little Hispanic child into her class and thought everything would be okay. As the year goes on, she realizes that Gabe is very distracted in class. It's hard for him to stay focused on his assignments. So when she gives him homework, she realizes that during class he will start on his paperwork, and then a few minutes later he will be looking around the room trying to talk to other kids. He will oftentimes get up to sharpen his pencil, or he'll go through his desk and try to find toys to play with, just anything other than doing his homework. So as Miss Susan would approach Gabe to see what he is doing, he'll forget what he's doing or what he's looking for. So you can tell he's very distracted in class. As they work on reading, she realized that Gabe also couldn't read very well. He would pay attention to the pictures, make up of his own stories. So she would hide the pictures, try to teach him the words. He slowly became better with reading. Math was the same way. He would memorize the answer to the problems. But when it came time to recess, this was when she really knew he was very hyper. He would be the first child out. He loved playing sports, soccer, kickball. He would like to organize teams, be the leader. So a bossy kid, as you could say. So when it was time to come in, she would yell for all the kids to come in. Gabe would still be over there kicking his feet, acting up, playing. So several times of her trying to get his attention, he'd finally run, jump in the front of the line. He wanted to be the first child in. So she noticed that, his assignments weren't being done. His grades were okay, but he just wasn't doing his best. So she asked her friend, the special ed teacher, to come and observe Gabe. So as she sat in the back of the classroom, just looking around the room, making sure Gabe didn't realize she was only watching him, of course, Gabe found her, went back there and talked to her, wanted to know if she had a pencil. So she observed him and realized he was very distracted. Couldn't sit still, couldn't stay focused. So she decided that the principal, the teacher, her herself, and Gabe's parents should have a meeting. So the meeting started. The teacher described how Gabe was doing okay in class, but how he was distracted, couldn't stay focused, wanted to talk, get out of his seat, and how disruptive he was in class. She asked how Gabe was at home. Mr. Silva said he loved to play sports. He made it a point to play sports with him every day because he knew he was always hyper. She asked him how his assignments was, his homework. So Miss Silva explained that when it was time for homework, that he would sit at the kitchen table while she cooked supper. But he had to do his homework in small portions. If not, then he couldn't complete his assignments. So the teacher offered that maybe sitting at the kitchen table wasn't a good idea because there was movements and distraction going on around him. So Mr. Silva said that he would do better. Just tell him what he needed to teach Gabe to do, and he would do it or he would punish him. Of course, that struck the teacher, and she wasn't opposed to that. So the special ed teacher jumped in and said that maybe Gabe should go to his primary care and be tested for ADHD. Well, of course, Mr. Silva wasn't opposed to that. He said he didn't want his kid on those drugs. But with ADHD, you have to know that sometimes being treated with medications, therapy, is the best opinion for it. So the teacher explained that maybe this was the best approach. Maybe medication wasn't needed, but it wouldn't hurt, because if not, if it was untreated, then Gabe, as he got older, would be in more fights and things with other kids because his bossiness, his attitude would take over. So Mr. Silva was opposed to this idea, wasn't wanting to do it, told him that he would work with him at home and see how things become. So then Miss Susan was worried about how her class was going to be affected by this and how Gabe would interact with the kids, how his grades were going to be, and told Mr. Silva and his wife that they needed to come up with a plan, something to help Gabe do better in school, pay attention better, and that they could not do any treatment without their permission and their signature. So for them to go home and talk about it and see what they decided. So to sum up ADHD, it is very hard for anyone to know about it if you have no knowledge in it, if you have no background in it, no studying in it. You can mislabel a child as having ADHD when, in fact, the child just has hyperness. So it's very important for teachers, parents, caregivers to study what ADHD is, what can be done for it, if there is therapy, someone to talk to, maybe medication is the right route to go. Kids can be labeled. It could help worsen their self-esteem. They could be boarding class. So it is important for someone to study and know what ADHD is and help these children. So I hope you enjoyed my speech. Have a great day. Thanks.